How long ago did the European Union say that the protocol life coming to an end? How long? Over a decade ago. Over a decade ago. We stubbornly thought that we could buck the horse. We could be like Australia or Brazil or Thailand or whoever else produces sugar of any consequence in this world. And so invested in a factory at Skeldon. I don't know, they said they had studies and whatnot and so forth. I don't know, maybe studies for putting the factory there, but I don't know studies as to whether it was a viable proposition at the end of the day. But you have the Skeldon. A lot of borrowing took place to build Skeldon. In fact, on the loan side alone, over 125 million US was borrowed. We have roughly about 24, 28, roughly $29 million for the CDB borrowed from the Caribbean Development Bank. Another $40 million that was borrowed from the China Exim Bank. And another $56 million in a combination of World Bank loans and Guyana reserves and government of Guyana reserves that were making a total of 125 million of borrowed money. And then now you need to add the amounts put in by Gaisuko itself to get what the Skeldon is. And the overall project itself that they had would have cost 200 million US, not just Skeldon, but the overall sugar modernization project would have cost, Skeldon modernization project would have cost 200, but the factory itself was 125 million plus of borrowed money, plus whatever Gaisuko would have put in. And for the press, I got the numbers I could give you if you want later. Not a penny of this money, not a penny is being repaid by Gaisuko. Not a penny. They don't have the wherewithal. They do not have the wherewithal. So this is being met from taxpayers' funds. The very taxes that the honorable member opposition leader said we were raking in. And I'll come to that soon. We were raking in these taxes. He made it as if we were this ghoulish monster, eating, grabbing and eating everything up in our pathway. But we are left with these. This is one of literally hundreds of these dead projects that were left for this government to clean up. And this isn't the first time I'm mentioning it. And it probably ain't going to be the last as long as he comes here with that pretense. We have to say it over and over and over and over again.
Yes.
This is money wasted. Wasted in the Skeldon factory. Wasted. And you know what? Gaisuko, together with two banks, probably won't call the name, lent money to the farmers to expand cane farming in the Skeldon area. One bank gave out 546 loans, right? All are non-performing, means that nobody is paying back. Nobody is paying back. That bank, the other bank, even more. The other bank gave out 869 loans to farmers. And 800 of these loans are non-performing. Now this particular bank trying to ask me, government, we are doing, help me, this, but I said that's a commercial decision. I need help myself. Is everybody asking me for help? I don't have the money, you need to solve that problem with them. But as long as these farmers owe the banks, they're doomed. The bank's not about to lend them. But it's the same opposition leader who in his talk here talk about non-performing loans increasing in the banks. Non-performing loans increase in the banks, oh God.
His legacy.
It is his legacy that is causing non-performing loans to think back, not this government. Not this government.
He knows that.
People must know the truth. The two biggest areas of non-performing loans in the banking system are housing and agriculture, specifically sugar and rice. So why are you making it out as if this situation here is causing all these non-performing loans? The poor sugar farmers, we have to find somewhere, maybe not now, but we have to find some way of trying to help them because they can't pay back these loans. But at this time, we can't help them because we don't have the room to help them. We would love to help them. We don't have it. As he said, the consolidated fund got how much? 60 billion, whatever figure he called. I'm sure he didn't tell an untruth where that is concerned. But that's the reality. It's in deficit. We never hit it. We never hit it. It's in deficit. So that's why we can't do the kinds of things that we would like to do. We'll have to kill that deficit, bring it down to a manageable level. But I am in sympathy with these farmers. They took the money in good faith, and there's no scale done. There's nowhere to, even if they had the cane, there's nowhere for scale them to grind it and for them to get back the money to pay back. And that is causing the non-performing loans to rise. All these different loans. You look at housing. I mean, I don't have to do Honorable Patterson Housing Minister's work. She has made the point. Communities Minister also made the point of all these house lots that they try to translate into houses. How many? Half? More than half? Unoccupied? Unoccupied, which means they didn't went to any bank for any loan. Of the ones that are occupied, several have 2 things in the air or 4 things in the air, abandoned. They might have gone to a bank, I don't know. Others went to a bank, got a loan, almost finished, have difficulty repaying the bank, and so on. It's like a housing bubble. I said the bubble is going to burst 10 years ago, virtually. Just about when I was leaving Ministry of Finance. I said this bubble is going to burst. I saw it coming. I saw it coming. Got nothing to do with the economy and so on. And you see all of these problems, you could see it. You see it in the Borby's Bridge. And that contract should come to this parliament. Okay, and I hope we are going to bring it to this parliament to let people see. Let the people see what the previous government agreed to when it comes to the Borby's Bridge. Let it come here. And then you will see what the rate should have, what the tariff for crossing the Borby's Bridge should have been today in 2017. Don't let the Borby's people, you shouldn't get fooled. We'll bring the contract here and let you see what it should have been today. That is what they agreed. That is what they agreed to. And we must make all, not only we must make all the contracts. Goldfields, everybody contract. You bring it from there. In the name of transparency, let everything come. Let everything come. So, Mr. Speaker, the European Union wasn't, it was a bit sad to hear that the protocol that everyone thought should have been inviolate under WTO rules, it wasn't deemed to be so and had to be brought to an end. So, from 2006, you gotta listen to this. From 2006, the European Union entered into arrangements with the government of Guyana under what was called the EU accompanying measures, in which a set of money was transferred to the government of Guyana, right? It was divided up between a fixed tranche and a variable tranche. Under the fixed tranche, that is where the government had to meet certain preconditions to do with the macroeconomy, and its public financial management program and its PMO governance issues, accountability issues, and so on. All right? To the credit of the government then, they never failed any one of those targets. And so monies were disbursed in each year identical to what was agreed. So for example, in 2006, 3.27 euros was the fixed tranche, and that was disbursed. 3.27 million, yes. In 2007, fixed tranche, 13.213 million euros was agreed and disbursed. 2008, 12.086 million euros was agreed and disbursed. 2009, 8.9 million euros was agreed and disbursed. 2010, 9.3 million euros was agreed and disbursed. 2011, 12.35 million euros agreed and disbursed. 2012, 4.64 million euros agreed and disbursed. 2013, 6.9 million agreed and disbursed. 2014 and 2015, you know the story. Proroguing the parliament, this, that, tarot, no monies. But in 2016, 6.9 million was agreed. That was 6.9 million should have been given since 2014. But 2016 it was agreed, disbursed. All right? Now the variable tranche, so for a total of between 2006 and 2016, 77.559 million euros were agreed and disbursed under the fixed tranche. Under the variable tranche, Gaisuko, this is the Gaisuko component. In other words, when I say Gaisuko, I mean this is where Gaisuko had to meet some benchmarks for the disbursement. It doesn't mean that they shouldn't have access to both the fixed and the variable. What I'm saying, the fixed, the government had to meet some global benchmarks. The variable, Gaisuko, had to meet some specific Gaisuko benchmarks. Good. So, in 2006, the variable tranche agreed was 1.63 million euros and disbursed. In 2007, the variable tranche was 13.213 million euros. But only 6.06 million was disbursed. Gaisuko failed to meet the targets. They failed to meet over 50% of the targets, and therefore less than 50% was disbursed. And by the way, it's not in the pool anymore. It's gone. Bye-bye. See you later. So Gaisuko in 2007 lost over 7 million euros. In 2008, 12.086 million euros was agreed. But only 7.252 million euros was disbursed. Another 5 point something million. Bye-bye. See you later. Euros. Gone. Gone. 2009, 8.9 million was agreed, but only 6.264 million was disbursed. Another 3 point something million gone. 2010, 9.3 million was agreed, but only 3.255 million euros was disbursed. 2011, 12.35 million euros was agreed, only 7.41 million euros was disbursed. 2012, 18.56 million euros was agreed and disbursed. 2013, 16.1 million euros was agreed, but only 12.884 million was disbursed. And 2016, which should have been 2014, 20.74 million euros was agreed, but only 17.524 million euros was disbursed. In the aggregate, 112.879 million euros was agreed, but only 81.385 million euros was disbursed. So Gaisuko lost critical funding in excess of 30 million euros. You must know this.
Yes.
These crybabies today coming here and using the sugar workers for their own ends, but they would not tell you what is the story. So now you know why when the government came in May 2015, the man who was getting $35,000 a month, he dropped it and he run and he said, yeah, I'll take it.
Next day.
Drop it. Drop it and gone. That same week, sugar workers would not have been paid hadn't it been for this government who came in with all the problems that we came in and met. We had to find money to pay, to give to Gaisuku, to pay those workers for that week and that month. From day one. These people who come here and pretend that they have the sugar workers' interest at heart. And they talk about fat cats and 50% pay to 13. Not 13, it's everybody.
Yes.
But they were paying one man 35,000 US.
Shame.
While Gaisuko was going down and can't even meet its own variable targets and losing 30 million euros over the years, the ordinary sugar worker was being used and abused. $12 billion we had to find. And from since that day, there has been no let up. We must know these stories, man, because we get beaten, we get licks and all kind of things because these people are able to get the press. They have their own and they have their sympathizers and they run with these stories, these top figures. Nobody do the homework. We have all the figures. You could come and get it whenever you want it. If you're honesty and true to yourself. This wouldn't appear tomorrow in Guyana Times, I know. But at least some news, it will find its way in. Let the people out there know that it's crocodile tears. They don't have the interest of sugar workers. They want to be sure that they can vote for them in 2020. That's all. They don't have the interest of the sugar workers in hand. And the workers themselves must not be fooled. This government has pumped $12 billion in 2015, $11 billion in 2016, $9 billion in 2017, for a total of $32 billion. In addition, in 2017, we have facilitated CHMPA buying $2 billion worth of land. So that's $11 billion. And we have just signed on to the guarantee for them to go to a bank to get $2.5 billion more to carry them to the end of the year. Nothing is going on in Gaisuko. Nothing is going on in Gaisuko. So for this year alone, when Gaisuko is going to produce maybe even less than 150, but we holding our breath. We hoping it's 150 because we don't want to damage the growth rate too much more. When they are going to produce 150,000 tons or thereabouts, their take collectively from the Treasury and related allied Treasury matter, because the guarantee that we gave today to the bank is we're going to have to find the $2.5 billion to pay the bank. We're just buying time, as they say. So for this year, 2017, a total of $13.5 billion would have been transferred to Gaisuku. At a time when they're producing the lowest amount of sugar since we came into office. Since we came into office. We don't cry. We stick to our guns and we proceed. So that we got the opposition leader coming here and breathing his fire and brimstone. Doomsday, oh God, it's falling down, what the country broke up.
Dr. Doom.
This is what we do to our own country. In the name of what? In the name of what? You know, I think it is time. We as a people begin to believe in ourselves, love ourselves, and stop this internecine strife and come together and move this nation forward. And I believe it can happen. I believe it can happen. You know why? Because in an impromptu little talk I had with 3 female members of the opposition yesterday, albeit on full bellies perhaps, I don't know, but I was passing and I said hi and so on, and we got to talking about sugar. And I'm amazed with the sincerity, the passion, and the resolve to find solutions to the plight of the sugar workers. And I turned and I said to them, listen man, so both of us seem to be on the same wavelength, because we have the same passion over here too. What is stopping us from forming a nationalist view on a national problem? What is stopping us? You know, and I said, man, listen, we have 2 national problems right now. We have a border problem and we have the sugar problem. They're national problems, big, huge. If you can find the time to say you're supporting on the border, what is the problem about this other national problem? Okay, they're your supporters, but isn't it a national problem? Are we going to sit back and bemoan the fact, oh, 2,000 people getting fired, 7,000, it makes good headline. It makes good line. But these are 7,000 human beings and 2,000 human beings. So shouldn't we come together nationally and help these people? Why we have to play politics with the lives of these people? Why? You have them there marching up and down with placards in the yard, in the hand, not earning any money. The sugar is destroying in the ground. Not earning any money. The cane is disappearing in the ground, the juice is getting whatever. 22,000 man days lost at a time when every penny counts for the sugar workers. Is that fair to them? We are at this thing since last year. And in fact, I will come to sugar in a general way. I'll show you how much money has been lost in sugar on the previous government. All the crocodile tears crying to deer. They ought to be ashamed that they're using the plight of the workers to promote and foster their own ends. They ought to be ashamed of it. Ought to be ashamed of it. But it's a national problem. And we have to stop the politics thing and get together to solve this national problem. Because there aren't going to be any winners. There aren't going to be any winners at the end of the day. And all of us might be consumed in the Cartesian sense if we continue on this road to perdition instead of the road to prosperity. The goodly bishop, without waiting for any response, comes in this house, comes to this house, man of the cloth, and spews out the same things in this letter. He starts out by saying, "Dear sir, we write to seek clarification while expressing grave concern on the reformulation of the above reference loan, in bracket, an International Development Bank, IDB loan." No, there's no International Development Bank. I don't know any International Development Bank. Oh, you said Inter-American? You're saying that that's what he meant?
Right from wrong.
An international development bank, notice I put a big circle because I don't know what it means. Loan agreement valued at $66 million US, and the consequent impact it will have on communities which will not be serviced as a result of this loan. He says, according to a state media report, US $30 million from the US $66 million loan agreement will be expended on the Sophia, Patterson, Turkine, Cummins Lodge, and Cummins Park areas, and that the proposed works include providing subsidies for the construction of core homes and home improvement projects. It was also reported that the Central Housing and Planning Authority held consultation with residents as part of the IDB requirement. We seek to confirm the accuracy of the above-mentioned report and confirmation on the details on the reformulation of the loan. And then he goes on to all the things, right? And to make certain that I get it and act on it, he sends it to Luis Alberto Moreno, President of the International Development Bank.
It never read.
He then sends it to Jerry Christopher Butler, Executive Director, International Development Bank. And then Sophie McConan, Country Representative, International Development Bank, Guyana office. Right? Okay. Now, Mr. Chairman, let me give you a bit of history of this loan. Give a bit of history on this loan. The original loan is for $66 million. Okay? The loan is called, the project was called the Road Network Upgrade and Expansion Program, 2741-BL/GY. And it was signed 15th of March 2013. 15th of March 2013. It was a multiple works project where the representative sample of the loan was proposed as the Sheriff Street Mandela Avenue Road. The budget for this road was $24 million US, or 41% of the civil works component of the loan. The other indicative works were the resurfacing of canals numbers 1 and 2 roads and the East Bank Berbice Road. Listen carefully. The East Bank Berbice Road was in this loan.
Yeah.
All right. Provisions were made for the following studies: the Linden-Soesdijk Highway, the Linden-Ituni Road, the railway embankment, and the Wismar Bridge. However, the road did not provide for the study of the Diamond to Timeri upgrade. This study is being programmed under another loan. Now, so remember this loan was signed on March 15th, 2013. Okay. So, between March 15th and October, period that was used to make the loan effective, not to do all the background work to get the loan into effectiveness. Then the first tender was launched October 2013. Advertisements for forms were sent out. On December 2013, 11 firms submitted bids, but only 4 were shortlisted as having met the requirements. Nothing happened between December 2013 and October now 2014. Wow. October 2014, 4 shortlisted firms were invited to submit full requests for proposals called RFPs. So twiddling of thumbs were taking place between December 2013 and October 2014. While we were twiddling thumbs, the loan is attracting interest. Because from the time a loan is approved, it begins to attract interest. And you know that you go borrow money from the bank, and the bank says, yes, sign the dotted line here. By the time you walk out the bank, it starts attracting interest. So no different with the multilateral banks. On December 2014, was given for the deadline for these RFPs, requests for proposals. 2 Brazilian firms submitted bids, namely Invipar Constructora and Ekman Engenheira SA. Ekman's bid was deemed to be substantially non-responsive. In subsequent due diligence, the other company, prior to being awarded the contract, it was discovered that the company had significantly falsified the bidding documents which it submitted, right? In March 2015, so in March 2015, the bidding process was cancelled by the Work Services Group and the bank, the IDB, the Inter-American Development Bank, not the International Development Bank. So we down to March 2015, nothing has happened. Loan signed March 2013. 2 years afterwards, nothing has happened on the loan. So we lost 20 months of project execution due to all this story. The second tender now was launched when we came into power in May 2015. In July 2015, the tender process was closed. 5 bids were submitted. None of the 5 bids met the minimum requirements for the bids to be considered as responsive. By April 2016, the entire bidding process was annulled. So between March 2013 now and April 2016, 3 years afterwards, nothing has happened on this US $66 million loan. Not a single work was done. 3 years had passed. Not a single thing had been done on this loan. Third tender launch, January this year, 2017. A third invitation to bid was launched. March 2017, the bid process closed. At this stage, the program was just 1 year. So you see, as of March 2017, at that stage, the program was just 1 year away from its final disbursement deadline. And at that time, over $63 million had remained unused on the loan.
For 4 years.
4 years. $63 million had been unused on this loan. And this particular loan has caused us so much grief. 2 ways. One, it was used against us in our next round of allocations by the IDB because they said we don't have capacity and we have so much monies outstanding, it is difficult to allocate new monies to us. That is what this and several other of the loans that we inherited from the last government has done to this country. And we must know it.
Yes.
You must have people coming here and talking this and talking that. You must know what took place. You must know what took place. I hope all the journalists are here because they don't tend to hang around when I have to speak. We must know it. 4 years passed. $63 million left on this loan and would have been written out. And would have been written out had it not been for the persistence, perspicacity, and everything else, every other adjective you could find, of this government and its officials and in partnership with the IDB, the Inter-American Development Bank. Our constitution never contemplated that budgets will continue to come towards the end of March, even though it has that contingent arrangement of 90 days into the new year. What was a contingent became the normal. And so sometimes, having been exposed to that normal, you then tend to forget or realize that indeed there is a normal. And the normal anywhere in the world is for budgets to be presented before the start of the fiscal year so that you can have a full fiscal year. Yes. And I will come back to this just now because Honorable Madam Teixeira has raised this issue again, and I'm not sure what is the issue about. Having explained and gone into some details last year, November, maybe Saturdays are not enough for lessons. May have to go into Sundays also. Yeah. And Mr. Speaker, while I'm here, I may wish to refer you to Kaito News, Friday, December the 8th, 2017, today, reporting on Honorable Member Priya Manichand's address in the House, and partly referring to the Honorable Member saying that the absence of the finance minister and senior officers of the finance ministry is proof that the coalition government is just being robotic about the budget process. Mr. Speaker, robotic about the budget process? A process where if one person on the government side is not present, the entire government can fall? Being robotic? And how unkind can the honorable member, who was a minister in a previous government, who worked with many of the staff in the budget office, can be so unkind to the enduring efforts of the budget staff? And I'm sure if the honorable member looked carefully, the honorable member would have seen at all times senior staff of the Ministry of Finance being present in the House. And I would ask that I'd ask that the honorable member, whenever she reappears in this House, to apologize to the staff. As Honorable Prime Minister had said, the debate has been more of the same, quite uninspiring in a sense. When you can have Honorable Member Priyon Manik-Chan questioning the absence of the finance minister and deeming it to be because of his lack of interest in the debates or what the opposition have to say. You know how shallow, how people are fishing for something. And I'm sure if the honorable member had requested and asked, I'm not one to hide anything. I went there on government business. And I wasn't in Barbados, as this paper said. I was further north in the Bahamas, so to speak, working for the government and working for the people of this country. We don't go padding the capital or the PSIP program by calling in contractors at the beginning of the season and tell them not take advance, take everything, so that it looks as if our PSIP is this massive implementation. We don't do that. We do not do that. We do not do that. That's all I'm saying. We do not do that in this government. We do not call contractors and tell them, take all this money so that the PSIP looks bumped up. I ain't calling any names. Honorable Gail Teixeira, as reported again in today's Kaijor News, at page 11, headline, PPP parliamentarian protests early budget. Really, Mr. Speaker? We actually have parliamentarians who are protesting early budgets? It goes on to say, I'll read a few quick sentences. While early budgets may have its advantages, it brings as well a fair share of worrying legal and financial complications. Is there a legal complication about an early budget? I mean, please, I would love to know, because we don't want to be on the wrong side of the law. But legal complications about an early budget? The whole world must be in a legal spin, because they have early budgets. We were the ones who were the pariah.
That's right.
In having all these late budgets for over 30 years.
Teach them.
Expounding on this conundrum on Wednesday in the National Assembly was Opposition Chief Whip Gail Teixeira. I'm just reading. So, Teixeira explained that when the opposition sought to examine the 2017 budget and its estimates, it was faced with a fundamental issue. It couldn't figure out when was the cutoff date for the figures that were presented by the Minister of Finance. Oh, Mr. Speaker, even if you bring a budget in March, you check the estimates, there are 4 columns. The left column is actual, and those figures are actual 1 year after, because at that time the Auditor General would have audited the figures, and those are what you want to call the actual. The next 2 columns are the budget for the present year and the latest estimate for the present year. So even if you bring a budget in March, it is still the latest estimate. at the end of last year.
Teacher, take copious notes.
And it doesn't matter whether the cutoff date was November, September, December, or whatever. It is still a latest estimate. And the right column is the budget for the upcoming year. It has been like that all the time. The standing orders require it in that fashion, and I believe the Constitution requires it in that fashion. What is this business about cutoff date? Australia, we have patterned ourselves in this regard as Australia. They have their early budgets. It's presented before the start of the fiscal year, and they bring within their first quarter a final synopsis of all the figures and everything. We did that last year. We promised it to the House, and we did it last year. The important thing about this government is that regardless of the criticism, we do, and we present it in not cloak and dagger manner. We present it in detailed manner, explaining it point by point. We don't have to be afraid of criticism. Criticism is good, whether it's healthy or bad. And we learn from criticism. And that is why our budget speeches have this thickness, because it goes into depth. It analyzes, it broadens, it expounds. You check our budget speeches against those things that were called budget speeches in the prior 23 years. And it's not boasting. It's a different caliber. And yes, some people remember I used to write them. I'm not responsible for the end product. Mr. Speaker, over the last 5 days, there's been a lot of uninformed, misinformed comment and discussion in this House, the printed media, the electronic media, and perhaps even in some blogs. I've heard repeated for the fourth budget a number of inaccuracies which have been corrected in this House, and the Hansard will show that, which continue to be repeated in this House. And I don't know what can be done about that. People say it's democracy and so forth, but I believe somewhere along the line, if the Hansard shows that these is more of a strategy to misinform rather than to educate, that perhaps it needs to reflect that this is being done deliberately, because I cannot understand for the life of me, after 4 budgets, the same thing is being repeated over and over, despite it being shown to have been inaccurate and continue to be used. This House must not be desecrated in that manner, and we have to find a way of sanctioning whenever these inaccuracies continue. I met a few journalists on the corridor just before we restarted, and I said to them, I knew a definition of torture, which I can't share in the House at this stage because it's a bit raunchy. But torture has been redefined today by attempting to listen to the Honorable Member, Bharat Jagdeo, in his 3-hour rampage. 3 hours of mindless, aimless ranting. Headline, PPP parliamentarian protests early budget. Really, Mr. Speaker? We actually have parliamentarians who are protesting early budgets? It goes on to say, I'll read a few quick sentences. While early budgets may have its advantages, it brings as well a fair share of worrying legal and financial complications. Is there a legal complication about an early budget? I mean, please, I would love to know, because we don't want to be on the wrong side of the law. But legal complications about an early budget? The whole world must be in a legal spin, because they have early budgets. We were the ones who were the pariah.
That's right.
In having all these late budgets for over 30 years.
Teach them.
Expounding on this conundrum on Wednesday in the National Assembly was Opposition Chief Whip Gail Teixeira. I'm just reading. So, The chair explained that when the opposition sought to examine the 2017 budget and its estimates, it was faced with a fundamental issue. It couldn't figure out when was the cutoff date for the figures that were presented by the Minister of Finance. Oh, Mr. Speaker, even if you bring a budget in March, you check the estimates, there are 4 columns. The left column is actual, and those figures are actual 1 year after, because at that time the Auditor General would have audited the figures, and those are what you want to call the actual. The next 2 columns have the budget for the present year and the latest estimate for the present year. So even if you bring a budget in March, it is still the latest estimate at the end of last year. The typical example is the Marriott. At what stage would the Marriott have been today if it was being built by a local company? This is not chastising the local company. This is a reality situation. We have to come off of our laurels, whether we're public sector or private sector, and get with the program. Nobody's going to hand us anything anymore. It's a different government. We have to go out there and work for what we want. And so I'm saying I'm a local content person. I want locals. And in fact, I'm pressing, my colleagues will tell you, I'm pressing in cabinet for treasury money to be used first and foremost to buy local things, then moved on. It's horrible trying to find a water. Can you imagine at our only international major airport, because that one's a regional airport, there is no local water on sale. Would you believe that the water there that is on sale comes from Jamaica? Can you believe it? Yes. The water being sold at the Cherry Jagger International Airport in the shop that they have there comes from Jamaica. There's no local water, no Banks DIH water, no DDL water. What is wrong with us? Are we talking about local content? And we talking about local, there's no water tastes better than Banks DIH or DDL water. And I refuse to drink foreign water, not unless I go out the country. What is wrong with us? I go to quarantine, somebody invite me there. I have witnesses, I have Honorable Minister Harmon, and somebody else who was there, and Dominique. We gone there, water. All this persons gone up there, private sector gone up there, oh, the government must do this. And then I went up there and they said, you know, I listen to everybody. I listen to everybody. But are you listening to yourselves? I said, just take one look around. What do you see? Nobody said they didn't see anything. I said, look at the water. It comes from Suriname or someplace. Not a single water from Guyana. And they're harassing the government about this incentive and that incentive and buy local and so on. But they in foreign wherever they see. How you like it? How are we going to survive as a country if we think so poorly about ourselves? How are we going to survive? So, you know, it pains you, it pains me personally as I go around, because I'm a 70s baby, you know, and I see what this country can do in the face of adversity. And those who grew up in the 70s, and many of us here grew up in the 70s, know the adversity of the 70s. And it brought out the best. Some of it brought out the worst in some of us too. But when it came to manufacturing, industry and so on, it brought out some of the best in us. And today you could still see 1, 2 tapirs in these bobbies. Yes. And that's a local machine. Yes. Could still see 1, 2 tapirs. So I know we have it. But what it is that is keeping us locked down in there? What is it? Other people can come in here, you know, complaining here, oh, Guyana going backwards. Guyana going backwards, oh, endemic growth and so on.